Until this term is over.
Right.
That's what I said.
Yeah, but then you said rules are rules.
Well, but you go to September and then that term is done.
Right.
So
I agree.
we're saying the same thing. That you don't like.
Or maybe I'm not really listening.
Great. I have any questions.
Oh, good, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
I think you just, I'm gonna, the only thing I'm gonna.
Do they want one?
Yeah, I think we need to start the new.
That's
Yeah, we're talking
Okay,
about-
I agree. I agree.
And it's not an answer.
All right, let's go ahead and
Thanks, Ben.
let's make all of our conversations official. So, welcome everyone to this workshop. The Temple City Council on March 29th, 2021. It's currently about 8 minutes after 3. So we have one item on the agenda, which is to discuss appointments for the City of Temple boards and commissions, including but not limited to the Airport Advisory Board, Animal Services Advisory Board, Building and Standards Commission, Citizens Police Advisory Commission, Civil Service Commission, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission, Development Standards Advisory Board, Emergency Services Advisory Board, Historic Preservation Board, Library Advisory Board, Main Street Advisory Board, Neighborhood Revitalization Advisory Board, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, Planning and Zoning Commission, and the Tax Increment Financing Reinvestment Zone Number 1 Board. So thank you all for being here today. We spent a lot of time in this room lately. And so that's good, though. Time is, today we'll make some decisions. So, Ms. Myers, do you have anything before we dive in? All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. First off, let's discuss the Airport Advisory Board. Please. Get all my notes back together. I've got stuff all over the place. My dog chewed it up.
Nobody ever picks on
So, so currently, sorry, I was gonna get all this together and never did. So currently serving on the Airport Advisory Board, we have,
This might be helpful for you.
I made notes.
Oh, you made it.
I can't find my own notes now. Maybe there's one here. I tore my binder apart last night and I was gonna get back to it and never did. Okay, so currently we have Marty Janczak, Brad Phillips, Edward McCaffrey, and Steve Wright is serving as the chair and the reinvestment zone appointee. Let's go ahead and tackle Mr. Wright first. He currently serves on EDC, Airport, and RZ. And my thought is that that we as a council, we need to make a decision on in what we do sort of if someone's ending their term. Mr. Wright is ending his term on the Airport Board in September. And in my thought, and he has agreed to, assuming council's agreeable, that we just simply leave him on, especially since he's the chair and the RZ appointee, that we leave him on until the end of his term, which is, will be coming up in 6 months or so. And at that point, then we reappoint someone new. So does anybody have a problem with that?
Nope.
Okay. And anybody else that we have that might be serving on 3 boards, we just want to be sure and keep that. We're not going to treat Mr. Wright any differently than we are, obviously, anybody else. So we'll sort of let that set precedent and we'll continue on that way.
Mayor,
Yes.
Council or Mayor Pro Tem Morales had a question. I think that she asked me and I said, I feel like we need to get the meeting started, but you asked about Sanjanet.
Yes, I just noticed, yeah, she's on the Building and Standards Commission, it ends, ended 2020. She's on the reinvestment and that ends September 2021. And she's on the TEDC board and it ended in 2020, so I don't know.
So she is, unlike Mr. Wright, she doesn't have current terms for all three of those boards. So the board y'all had talked about, not considering her for again was Building and Standards
That's correct.
Commission, and that was her preference.
Yeah.
So you didn't interview her for that board.
Right.
So that would solve
Sure.
that issue.
Okay,
Yeah, and trust her to.
thank you. Yeah.
And I think with the exception of Steve, y'all have addressed the three service with, you know, and we can cover those as you get to them, but I don't think you have any others that are similar to that.
Okay. So, I think we have talked to different folks that are on these various boards as we've seen fit as council members. I talked to Mr. Cloud personally about, his service on the airport board. And, you know, told him about that, you know, we had some other applicants that were, you know, very qualified. And Mr. Cloud said that he would be fine with coming off that board if we decided we needed to find room. And, you know, I kind of pressed him on it. I didn't want him to feel like, you know, while we were pushing him out or anything like that. And he assured me that he would be fine with, you know, with moving on. So, but we need to appoint to that board. We need to appoint 2 new members. And like I said, Mr. Cloud, if we, based on the interviews, if Mr. Cloud, if we decided we needed more room, we can do that. And ask Barry to step aside.
So that means 3.
Yes, we could. We need to. We could possibly do as many as 3. So in talking to Mr. Wright, he said that he would really like to have a couple of people that were very familiar with the airport and aviation business in general. And so I went out and I recruited both Mr. Beavers and Mr. Steeson. And I think the airport is, you know, we've talked about it a lot. We know what our goals are with the airport. So I think it's appropriate that we put a couple of quote unquote professionals on that board. So I would recommend that we add Mr. Steeson and Mr. Beavers. Mr. Beavers could be the corporate aviation spot because I believe that he lives outside of the city for sure. I think he's in the county. Is that correct, Ms. Llewellyn?
Yes, Mike Beavers and Nick Stinson both live in the county.
Okay.
If you appointed them both, you would eliminate Marty Janzak as well, because he lives in the county.
Okay,
Because they're both outside the county.
I got you. I knew Beavers was, I didn't know about Mr. Steeson. Is everyone okay with that? With
Beavers and
eliminating,
Stinson.
yes, but eliminating Cloud and Janzak?
No, I'm not necessarily in favor of eliminating Janzak because we're talking about people who have airport experience, and he has a lot. He expressed real interest in this following the meeting the other day because he felt a sense of recommitment or commitment from the council to do some real development.
Right.
So that's just my comment.
Yep. I understand. My only argument to that would be that that is extensive airport experience, but that's not Temple Airport experience.
Well, no, not at
And
all.
that's not current airport experience.
True.
So that would be my only thought with those.
I don't disagree.
Yeah. And, you know, at some point, well, not at some point, in September, well, that's gonna have to be a reinvestment zone appointment when Mr. Wright rolls off. We'll have, the reinvestment zone will have to figure that one out. What about, Ed McCaffrey? He's on that board, and has been on that board for a while.
Expressed a real interest in the library. I was impressed with Tony Hayden. And
I
his-
agree.
his financial acumen and his pilot experience, I thought he would add some real value to there.
And just a note, Mr. McCaffrey, or Dr. McCaffrey is not up for reappointment. He's in the current term through 2022.
Okay.
Say that again, Brent.
McCaffrey is not up for reappointment. He's in a current term. His term doesn't end until September of 2022.
So we leave him on there?
Right. I mean, are we taking somebody off who's in a current term that has extended period?
That's the discussion.
Okay, I may have missed something, but I don't remember us discussing, I don't mean this.
So he's in the middle of the
that
term.
concept at all in all of our meetings for the past 3 weeks.
I don't remember it being discussed, but I've always assumed that we were looking for candidates who fit the proper committees and brought certain acumen to it. That would be good to have on there. But
Despite their current status at any level.
yeah, that's why everybody re-interviewed.
Okay, so we are, all right, I missed a digit somewhere. I know that, I understand totally, that's why everyone re-interviewed, but I thought it was almost pro forma for somebody who had another year and a half on a board.
We could make it that way. I didn't understand it that way.
We didn't interview people who were in current good standing terms that hadn't ended yet. You interviewed him because he also applied to be on the library board.
That's what we really interviewed him for.
We also interviewed Marty and Perry.
Marty and Perry, I don't think are currently actually on the board because they both moved outside of the county or the city during their term. So I think they, is that correct? They forfeited their positions.
That's sort of my convoluted understanding, and added to that, why we didn't discuss this concept of yanking, my word, yanking somebody off who has another year and a half.
So they're in the middle of the current term
Right,
versus
that's
the
what I
term
was-
expiring.
Exactly, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Thank you, said it well.
Okay. So,
And I don't have a problem with with Dr. McCaffrey, I just didn't quite understand we were talking about that.
Yeah. so Ms. Myers, your thought on that was that they didn't interview because they were in the middle of their term?
Just consistently throughout all the boards, we did not ask people to come who were not applying for a current term on either the board that they're currently serving on or, actually, you didn't even ask people who were currently serving to come interview. So only if you were considering them for a new position. But if they were already on the board or they were in the middle of their term for all of the boards,
Yeah.
you didn't do that unless there was a special circumstance, which probably Marty and Perry in this circumstance, I think might be the only one where there's some question about whether they were actually able to serve because their residency changed, if that makes sense. And I don't disagree that you can take, if you want to remove someone for the board, I wasn't suggesting that you can't do that. I just wanted to be clear that we didn't consistently re-interview current board members who were in good standing.
Okay, so let's make a decision. So on airport, is everyone okay with taking Mr. Janzak out, Mr. Cloud out, and inserting Mr. Steeson and Mr. Beavers?
Their replacement for those two because they're both county.
Correct.
Got it. Yes.
And then Mr. Hale, maybe we can appoint him to another board.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you have a position for Mr. Hale because he lives in the city. So you actually have two more people you need to appoint that are city representatives.
There's 7 of them.
And you just have three current, you just have three people who are currently serving valid terms.
So I think Mr. Hale would be very good.
The others that you interviewed, or I think you interviewed Tyler Germstead, Tom Bradigan, and Robert Allison. Those would all also be eligible for your Second,
Tyler's moving out of the city limits in a few months.
Izzy.
So that leaves us,
one more slot
We-
that's city or county or either.
I think it's just city.
And this
Just
is a
city.
vacant one because there's nobody. Tate was in that position.
Is that correct, Jana? One more slot that's just city.
Correct.
I still, my notes are completely, another general, either city or county.
Yes, so we have 4 vacancies. We have corporate aviation, a general
We need
city or
one
county,
more.
and 2 city positions. So we have 4.
So one more that could be either city or county. No? No.
Just city.
Just city.
Mr. Beavers and Mr. Steenson have filled both county positions.
Right.
As you currently have it. So you have 2 city positions remaining.
So Mr. Hale will fill
Is
one.
one city. So one more just city. Got it.
Adjourn said about to.
It's about to move out.
Okay.
Mayor, I'm sorry, on Mr. Steenson's application, it said he lives in Belton. He has a 76513, but he actually lives in District 4. So he is in the city.
See, that's what I thought, because whenever I was talking to the McLean Corporation about getting me somebody, they said that he qualified for a city.
His address isn't listed, it just says 76513 on it.
Great.
So we can leave him as the city and insert Mr. Janzak
Yeah.
back in.
And then Mr. Beavers would be your corporate aviation, correct?
Right.
That will work.
Good.
So Tony Hale, Nick Steenson, Marty Janzak, and Mike Beavers are gonna be your
Yes.
appointments.
And Ed McCaffrey's staying.
And then you've got Brad Phillips, Edward McCaffrey, who will both have terms that are unexpired. And Steve Wright also has a term that's unexpired. The fly in the ointment there is that he's on more than 2 boards, but if you make the decision to kind of allow grandfather that in until his term expires in September, that's what you guys discussed.
Well, and in addition, yes, he's moved out of the city, but that was city.
Okay, next is the Animal Services Advisory Board. This one has 4. It has 3 cities, and then other residency requirements are none for 4 spots. But those are for a licensed veterinarian, which Mr. Cruz desires to remain, correct? Yes?
Yes.
Is that right? Ms. Strunk? The municipal official is Ms. Long?
Do I have a choice?
No.
Yes.
Paula, is it Seibel?
Yes,
All
sorry.
right. And then the,
Their terms aren't expired. Paula's term is not expired yet. It doesn't expire until September of 2022.
Okay.
So you don't need to reappoint.
all right, so do we have 1 spot
You too.
open and we had 1 application? Well, that's easy.
That is.
Yeah.
So was very interested.
She was very
interested. It's gonna be a good fit.
I agree. Only they were all that easy.
No.
You know not.
I'll show you later how.
Okay.
Okay, building and standards. So these are district placements. So currently, we have Derek Marshall, who's still eligible for 2 more terms, and he's in District 4.
And he's only on one other board. He's
I think he was serving also on ZBA, if my memory serves correctly, but he did wish to be reappointed.
Yeah, so that was pretty much,
He's also on the Planning and Zoning Commission.
I'm sorry, I saw him one.
Planning and Zoning.
So P and Z and building and standards.
If you take him off ZBA.
I heard Z, somebody said P and Z, right? Not RZ. I don't think he's on RZ.
No, he's not.
So everything else just needs to be filled. Is that right? Is this board wide open?
You will need to discuss who you're gonna appoint as the general regular member versus the alternate for each district as well.
Okay.
As you make your choices.
when I was looking at this, I think Jeremy Langley, who is District 1, was an alternate, and is an alternate for this. Building syndrome, I think it's ZBA.
Jeremy Langley didn't want to be reappointed or reconsidered. for
You
this
did not,
board.
okay.
So that's someone else that was on 3 boards that will self-resolve.
All right, so council members, do you have choices? I remember,
So Charlie Ayers for District 1 was interested.
We're actually short one on this board for District 1.
Okay, there's a couple people that didn't apply for this board, but said they would be interested in other things that I thought maybe we could discuss.
put me as an alternate. Okay, so let's first start with Charlie. Gonna put Charlie in District 1 as a non-alternate.
As a non.
Taylor, you know. I think he also applied for something else, didn't he? Taylor? Taylor, what else was there?
Yes, it was historic preservation, maybe.
I think that what he was interested
Willa also applied for the neighborhood revitalization advisory board, and that was his first
Yeah,
choice.
that was-
And I thought he might be a good fit. We needed a builder or someone.
Revitalization.
So what's I'm assuming that the role of an alternate is to show up, go to the meetings, they're non-members, they're non-voting until
Do they get notified
They're
they
needed.
need to come to the meeting? Is that how that
Yes,
works?
yeah. So just as a reminder, Building and Standards Commission is a quasi judicial board. They have the ability to make final decisions about people's property in terms of ordering demolitions. So it's in the best interest of kind of the due process that the person whose home is before them has a full, not quorum, but yes, can't think of the word.
board attendance.
But they have all the voting members there. So what y'all have done in your policy is you are still going to select an alternate from each district, but the alternate can step in for any position. They don't have to, so if you appoint Caleb as the District 2 regular member and you appoint Zoe Grant as the alternate, if Charlie's out, Zoe could step in for Charlie. She doesn't just have to step in for Caleb.
So would it be, if we're short on this board, would it be okay for us to be short an alternate? If that alternate can step into any district?
I think that I think that you should endeavor to fill all your board positions or eliminate them. You put them in place for a reason, but you can wait to make the appointment until you feel like you have the best candidate.
You
In any of these
just wait
boards.
till this process goes down the line just a little bit longer.
Just
if
remember
that's
that we have
okay.
a spot to
If that's
fill.
all right.
Yeah.
So Judy, like the affordable housing builder, developer for a neighborhood revitalization and housing nonprofit. Maybe so Caleb might be there.
Yeah, I've got her dinner, so, and that part also had Caleb.
Okay.
Caleb's main interest was neighborhood revitalization.
Yeah,
But
that's what
I
I'm saying.
put down that he said he would like to sit on both.
Yeah. Let's see who else can come back.
So we're waiting on the District 2 appointment.
And one alternate.
And Zoe also, she also wanted to be on the neighborhood revitalization. And on this one.
So we're talking about just District 2 right this second?
Another point on this board, just to maybe take some pressure off of y'all, is that once we get the board appointed, we've been pausing our process right now, so we don't have homes in the pipeline for this board to hear yet. So if you take another month to make all the appointments, that's not gonna slow anything down for us, because we have to start those cases again. So that we've discussed the first meeting that this board would likely have is in June, other than the orientation session. So if you need a little bit more time, definitely feel like you can pick that.
Okay. So what about District 3?
So no, so at this point, you're not ready to make any appointments from District 2, is that
Right.
correct? Okay, thank you.
Brad Phillips was District 3. I don't have any particular notes saying, overly, the only, of all the candidates that we interviewed, the one that struck me the strongest was Robert Bass, which has nothing to do with District 3.
So Mr. Phillips is there now.
All I'm saying is I didn't get any sense that he was really, really desirous of staying or did anybody else get a strong feeling from Mr. Phillips?
So Jack Barton is also applied.
And he's District 3.
Yes, he's very interested.
But Robert, he's got a lot of construction background.
We can put Mr. Bass in as a profession specific,
Yeah, no,
right?
I don't mean to be misleading.
I'm sorry.
I don't have any strong notes on Brad Phillips, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Mr. Barton was very interested.
He was the inspector, code inspector. That's what he did for a living. He had 30 years.
Been
Right.
doing that for a long time.
Yeah, no, all I'm,
So we just left him on airport,
Phillips,
right?
yeah.
And you're saying he was, in your opinion, he was lukewarm or?
No. Maybe I was lukewarm. I don't know. I just didn't get strong anything. That's all I'm trying to say.
But Mr. Barton, I think this was this his only application?
It was only that it was his first choice.
I think it was his own. Yes.
Well, I would hate to take Mr. Phillips off without, him specifically saying he wanted to be off.
He didn't give any inclination he wanted to come off.
No,
And this is sort of how he's made a living for 30 years.
yeah.
So you want to leave him on and maybe move Mr. Barton to alternate?
I don't think Mr. Phillips is currently, are you talking about on the Building and Standards Commission?
All right, isn't that what we're doing? No,
Yeah, but he's not on it.
It's not up at this point.
So you're just thinking, you have a clean slate for this board.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you aren't taking someone off,
Thanks.
if that.
So you're saying you want Brad Phillips?
Whatever everybody thinks.
You've got two positions. You've got a position for District 3 and an alternate for District 3, and you have two District 3 names. So, if they're both acceptable, you can just choose which one you want to fill the regular seat and which one to be the alternate.
And Mr. Barton, just to highlight, it was his first choice and only application.
Yeah.
So that might give you an inclination that he's particularly interested in this board if that impacts your
he is.
decision.
Well, put Mr. Phillips for District 3 and Mr. Barton as alternate. If that's what we're saying. I'm amenable to anything the rest of the group
That
feels.
sounds good.
Do you mean backwards? You meant Jack Barton. This was his first choice and only application. So do you want him to be the regular?
That's, okay, sure.
All right, so Barton is District 3 voting member.
And Phillips will be back up. Is that what we're saying?
You're saying?
No, I said, is that what we are saying?
I did say that Martin.
I did.
What you said.
I did, but as Janice pointing out, Mr. Barton, this was his only interest.
The District 4 only has one person.
Yes, first of all, I want to take credit for having Jerry Marshall already appointed.
Oh, that's right.
Way to go.
And then if you look at alternates, we talked about Tony Hale. I don't know if this is a proper place for him to be involved or not. So either Tony Hale or Rosa Hernandez. is the alternate.
Honey Hill is on airport. It'd be nice to spread the love.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. So, Rosa Hernandez could be fine.
She was really nice.
Yeah.
He's your District 4 alternate.
So,
So just to confirm, we've got appointing Charlie Ayers for District 1 voting member. No appointment at this time for the alternate. No appointments at this time for the regular or alternate member for District 2. Jack Barton for District 3 regular member. Brad Phillips for District 3 alternate. Derek Marshall for District 4 regular member. Rosa Hernandez for District 4 alternate, Robert Bass for the profession-specific slot. Is that accurate? Thank you.
So no alternate for District 1. And then who was the alternate for District 2?
We're gonna come back to that.
So we're leaving District 2's,
Open the right.
okay. All right. CPAC.
And we didn't appoint Robert Bass to anything on this,
No, he's the profession specific.
and we left him that, or we did do him that.
Yes,
Thank you.
that's lots good. All right. Citizens Police Advisory. Kind of bulldoze, Judy a little bit. I
I
spoke
heard this
with-
over here.
Yeah. So, Gary Smith, Gregory Gregg, and Benny Walsh, all three applied for CPAC. And I think that, both Gary and Gregory, this was the only one they applied for. So, I talked to Mr. Walsh and told him that I didn't think we could have three NAACP members on a 9-person board. That just seemed a little, weighted too strongly. So he agreed that Benny would not apply, and that we put Gary and Gregory, but they're both District 2.
And
How you want, Judy?
I'm good.
You also have the city spot. So
Yeah.
you can put one of them.
And
in.
we talked about putting Lydia there. So, Judy, that makes your job easy on this one. So, District 1,
So I wasn't able to attend this, and
Oh,
so
that's
I was leaning on
Yep.
you for that.
Yep.
I knew Ms. Rose was very interested. Ms. Valentine, I think, was interested in another as her first choice. Mr. Gonzalez, I think which one could you tell me, Jana, which one Mr. Gonzalez chose as first? I think it was historical preservation, but
Did you not say anything about Caitlin West?
I was not here for that,
But
so.
she's excellent.
that's St. Vincent de Paul,
Yeah,
correct?
she's,
She was also, she was interested in this one. She was also interested in historic preservation.
Yeah, but I think she
Yeah,
fit better on this one.
she works with the police almost every day.
Okay,
And I would be fine with her and Ms. Rose.
okay. So District 1 is Sharon Rose and Caitlin West. Everybody okay with that? Now, Ms. West was very impressive
She
and
really
passionate.
was.
All right, and then we've got District 2 taken care of. District,
Repeat for me again what District 2 is going to be.
Gregory Gregg and Gary Smith. Gary with 2 R's. District 3. We had, Alan Lytle, Derek Stahlbaum, Leonard Helene. Which one was Helene?
This is the only, board or commission that Alan Lytle has any interest in. His background is certainly not in his advisory, he's very, very interested in his son who's a policeman. And he comes to every council meeting and is really committed to the city.
Is that the one that, the law enforcement?
No. Alan, Eric is the one, yes, you're sorry, I misunderstood you.
He was, you remember him?
He currently
You
serves
know
on
him, Kane?
PSAB.
Pardon?
He currently serves on the PSAB, the board that was dissolved.
Okay.
He worked for the sheriff's department.
Yes, he did.
And also Eric Stahlbaum.
He was on-
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought Richard was talking about.
This was his first choice. He's willing to do fire or police. From Indiana, been in Temple since '03. Background in law enforcement, been on PSAB. Police Academy officer for 30 years, will do whatever is needed. He's not the one you're talking about, Judy. You're talking about,
That was Eric. I mean, yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that was Eric. Mr. Helene,
No, you're talking about Greg McGregor. That worked, no?
Eric.
Okay.
We can take a picture.
That's a good idea.
Mr. Helene was retired Navy, 30 years. He grew up in Temple, worked in administration and service. He said he wants healthy and informed debates to make decisions.
Yep.
Mary with 2 R's, Smith. District 2. Yeah. Look at the death row issues.
who's that y'all talking about?
Gary with 2 R's, Smith.
No, that's not the guy that works at Death Row.
Yes, it is. Gary with 2 R's. I got it right here.
He works.
Retired military, been through Police Academy, applied to the FBI, Texas Rangers, worked in Huntsville.
I didn't know that.
I just
Okay.
wrote it. I mean, I'm assuming that I wrote it on the right sheet.
I was thinking that was Mr. Shelton. Remember him? He worked at the sheriff's office.
Yeah, Shelton worked for the sheriff's office.
I thought that was the guy that, so Susan,
Uh-huh.
District 3.
I just reiterate what I said about Alan Lytle. I don't think from a law enforcement standpoint, he doesn't have the experience, but he's really committed to the city and very interested. And this was his only interest,
Okay, so you're putting him down for 1?
I guess.
Who's your second one?
I don't have one at this second. I'm confused. Just 1 minute.
So Byron Shelton.
Well, the other one from District 3 was Jerry Branham. His wife made him apply.
Right,
So I'm not nominating him.
not for this one.
Not for this one. And Tucker Glassky is District 2, so I can't comment on him. Byron Shelton is District 4. These are my choices in case I don't have another choice for District 3.
You can talk about Eric.
Who is Eric? Yeah, sure. Eric Stahlbaum.
Because he knows everyone at the city. Is that true? Everyone? No, staff is over there going. You had help with the county,
Yeah, I would say for District 3, those two, Tim.
Mr. Stahlbaum?
Yeah, Alan Lytle and Eric Stahlbaum.
Wendell?
Kim White and Brian Reinhardt.
As Brian.
Ms. White with the 411 house.
Yes. She was a really good interview.
She's also just really likable.
Yes, very.
Very well.
And now we need the general city.
Who do we do for District 2 again?
Gregory Gregg and Gary
Gary.
Smith.
Gary with 2 R's.
And what's happened to Tucker Glassky?
So far, he's out.
Odd man out.
We cannot have him out.
Well, you have the general. There's one more appointment.
Yeah, and
I think
he was
he'd be a good
very,
No,
very.
that's Libby Hollanese.
This video, I got that one.
Did we vote on that? We can't vote. When was that? I guess I missed that discussion.
That's the whole District 1 putting Gregory Gregg. Basically, I took both of Judy's slots. So Miss Hollanese is Judy's pick as general.
I sure like to put Tucker in somewhere.
Oh,
Where, what else did he apply for?
Well, I think he applied
I'm not
for,
buying off.
then you can have it out with Ms. Morales.
Well, isn't
I'm
Salamese already
changing,
on
I'm
the-
changing sides of the table. It's just gonna be a withdrawal over here.
No, not at all.
I know, I'm joking. But we have got to, Tucker
Well,
is
is there-
young, he's
is there
interested, he
some
wants to
other-
develop.
But he doesn't live in that area, which is so important.
You're absolutely right.
It's been there.
He's in District
He's in
2.
District 2.
District 2.
I've never seen him. I live in District 2.
Judy,
talking
if
He
you-
about-
lives right near
If
Travis.
you want Lydia, why don't you put her in District 2 and have either Gregg or Gary Smith or whoever else be the general applicant?
But
Because he wants.
Wendell's trying to find a spot for Tucker.
We can Tucker put
Well, I don't
another-
think I'm the only one that's trying to find a spot.
No, I-
No,
I
we
understand.
got, Tucker is
Is there some
somebody.
other committee that, or commission that he can be?
It seems like, if I recall, he was adamant that this was the one, or not adamant, but I think he very clearly said either this one or there wasn't anything else I'm interested in.
Well,
This
this
is
is, you want
his
to have a
first
diverse group. And when you do that, you're not going to have a diverse committee.
Well, we have diversity and experience.
You do it in-
Yeah, that's all.
Not taking away from anybody, you just.
You also interviewed Tucker for the Emergency Services Advisory Board.
Well, he said, did he not say he wasn't interested in serving on anything else?
You didn't
I'm looking at
apply
my
for the
notes.
Emergency Services Advisory Board, but you didn't have enough applicants for that board.
Oh, he said he would.
And he, at least on his application, he indicated that he would be willing to serve on other boards. And I think Ina Turner might have been similar. She didn't apply for that board, but you all kind of drafted her to be considered based on her response on the application that she would be willing to serve on other boards.
I put check, check minus, check plus, whatever, that was my grading system. In all of the billion people we interviewed, Tucker is the only person who had checked with 3 plus.
A great person. I'm just
Yeah,
talking about-
I know, we just got to fit him somewhere because he's a developing
Yeah, maybe.
somebody that is very interested in the city, very, very interested in youth, very interested in,
He's one of our future leaders.
there's no doubt.
It just.
You think you might be interested in this?
I have no idea. I have not talked to him.
So we can get, since it's a new.
I does anybody remember if we asked Tucker if there were other, would he serve on something else? 'Cause I
That's
didn't
what-
make that
That's
note.
what Brent was just saying. He said that he would serve on emergency services.
Well, I heard Brent say that, but did any of us ask him that? You know, in the interview as it developed in the conversation? Because I didn't note that.
I did tell him that I didn't have a personal conversation with him. Y'all just went off of his application. So I don't know if any of y'all talked to him, but you went off of his application that said he would be willing to be considered for other boards. And when I emailed him about the board, I told him that you all wanted to interview him for the Citizens Police Advisory Commission and consider him for the emergency services. So that was the extent of the communication that I had with him.
And he
That's
said
helpful.
yes. He didn't say no to emergency services specifically.
He accepted the interview, so I didn't speak with him though. I just sent that email, sorry. That's
So
all I
on emergency services,
What about Kim White for emergency services? What did she say?
That doesn't address the issue.
Because of district. Yeah, never mind.
Got his name or? Sure, I could go with Tucker and
For what?
For emergency
District
services.
police, for emergency services, yeah.
You want to jump ahead or?
that's what I was just looking at. Emergency services, that is the one I stepped out on that day. So I don't have any notes on anybody.
Mr. Arwood wasn't here. I was here for that, so he must have applied for another one. He's interviewed for.
I think that was the
As
day
well.
that was the day, because I saw him out in the parking lot when I was leaving that day, he was coming in. So, and that was for Emergency Services Advisory Board at 2:45 that day. So what choice is that for him?
Feedback was his second choice. At least that's what my notes say.
Yeah, Tucker's listed on the Emergency Services Advisory.
Sure.
Okay, so then,
So what is it we're saying?
Well, we just put Lydia as general for the Citizen Police Act. And that completes that committee.
so let's just then, if we've solved that, let's just keep moving in order. The next one is Civil Service.
And development standard.
Civil service is the one that I do the appointment and I'll confirm.
Okay. So we'll wait on you to make an appointment.
You have to wait a little bit longer. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, not quite ready to make that recommendation yet.
The next one I have is, I think I'm out of order. So development standards.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So our current,
Just since we originally met, I did hear Jeffrey Snyder, William Harris, Jonathan Perez. They did all submit applications requesting to remain on the board.
say it again,
We were waiting on applications from Jonathan Perez, William Harris, and Jeffrey Snyder. They've all been submitted and they've all requested to remain on the
Okay.
board.
And Mr. Ag,
Yes, AG and Ginger is on, her term ends. This is her final term, even though she lives in McLean County. I don't think we're gonna penalize her.
So she
Just let
stays
her
on.
finish out this term.
Ginger, it says 2022. No?
Yes, that's
Yes.
correct. She
Okay.
just is not eligible for the board because of her residency.
Right,
But you guys have talked about letting her finish out her term.
right.
Through
Okay.
September.
It's actually March for her. Yeah, so it'd be March of 2022.
So we don't.
So it looks like we have two profession specifics and two generals. Is that
Or
correct?
is that three professional?
Three
You have
professionals.
three profession specific and one general.
So who is the general attorney taking up?
If you reappoint Joey.
So Joey's general? I figured, well, doesn't matter.
I think Mr. Podolsky was very interested in getting involved. Profession specific though, he's in real estate, is that?
Real estate and CPA, does that fulfill?
He's not a CPA.
Oh, he isn't?
Laugh is,
No, I know she is, I thought he was too, sorry.
you know, once you're married. That's right.
Yeah, it just sort of rubs off.
Mhm.
Real estate.
Real estate. So I would like to put up Mr. Podolsky, that's.
Okay. Does he fall under one of the
Real
professions?
estate, Jana just checked.
Okay,
Who did you say, Jimmy?
Podolsky. I'll give you $1 if you can spell it. Without looking at pronounce.
P-R-Z-Y-B-Y-L-S-K-S.
Fair.
She is not fair. 25 years.
So Mr. Davis, I think emergency services, something that he wanted and is in District 1. So we may consider him for emergency services.
It would seem that Chuck Luco would certainly fit that, and Billy Jack Little, an engineer, would certainly fit that. Specific, a professional.
for both of those.
Mhm. I'm just putting them out there for discussion.
Jack Little and Chuck.
Chuck, sir?
Mhm. Okay, my notes in there. This one, Chuck.
After Chuck's interview, he sent me a video. He went to the driving range. After he.
He's in the neighborhood.
All right, so that gives us Schneider, Probilski, Harris, Perez, Tolbert, Luco, Little, AG, and who'd I miss? Or do we
Andy
still have
Jans.
one left?
Andy Janzak is construction background. And we certainly wanted to, what?
He's not on this list.
He interviewed, but he's not on the list.
Yeah, I've got his interview right here.
Looks like it's just not on this list.
I know, that's what's confusing me.
It looks like that cell might have cut off. If you
Oh,
look
yeah.
closely, it says Chuck Luco, comma, and then you can see that
Oh,
maybe there's a
There-
name that got cut off in the printing.
If we want to develop
Probably, Shannon.
young city people,
Yeah, I agree. So we need 4 and that would make 4.
and he, Andy Janzak.
Oh, yeah.
Did Todd didn't come interview?
No, he never came.
Yeah, was Mr. Denton on the list to interview and just missed his time?
Don't get soft here.
Oh, no, I'm not. I'm just curious.
What did Mr. Little do again?
Engineer?
Yeah. Charlie engineer with Charlie.
Oh, that's right. He zoomed in. He zoomed.
Yeah, he zoomed in.
Didn't confirm his appointment to show up.
That's 9. Go that way.
All right, so I'm missing somebody. I've got Schneider, Probilski, Harris, Perez, Tolbert, Luco, Little, AG.
James.
Jen.
Janzak and Chuck. Did you say Chuck?
I did.
Okay.
that Andy did that?
Andrew.
Okay, very good. Now,
It sounds like probably all of the members that you're considering appointing meet the profession-specific classification. Do you have a preference on who is slotted in the two generals? If the difference would be when that position becomes vacant or if that person stepped down, you would have a broader opportunity for filling. We can just slot them if you don't have a preference, but I think all of those people, based on their jobs, have meet the profession specific. So if you've got a preference on who goes in the general,
We kept Joey as one professional, or one general, right?
Joey right now is in a general slot,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am. And the other person that is currently like that is going to be Andrew Janzak, unless you guys tell us differently.
I think that's fine. Y'all. Okay, so now we're moving on to DEI.
It's gonna be hard to have a lot. Really good. We so appreciate all the interest.
It's exciting to see so many people that really want to be involved in the cross section.
So this is one, this is where I told Benny we would put him, Mr. Walsh. There's a number of them, like,
Let's see it in two. So we can play with that.
so there's,
We
this
said
is
Jennifer,
not district.
Jennifer
No.
Clark.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
but I
but
think-
Yes, Ms. Klaus,
Yes,
who's the McLean DEI.
Jordan Valentine.
Will,
And Gil Holly from TISD, we were
Very
talking
good.
about. from this-
will he fit in the social services?
For
sure.
Yeah, and he would be in social service, Alexis, they probably would be good women in the community.
Just a reminder that you don't have to slot someone in every single one of those slots, but you did commit to not appointing more than 2 people representing any certain group so that you've got
that
diversity
makes it better.
on your diversity.
So did you say no more than 2?
Right. So if someone's representing, most of the people you interviewed represent more than one group, so if this one will definitely be kind of like a puzzle piece. I would recommend maybe you just talk about who you want to appoint, and then we can work on if we run
Sure.
afoul of the criteria.
Okay, so I think everyone's in agreement on Walsh, Klaus, and Holly.
Yeah.
Is that making head nods on that?
Gil Holly?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Yeah.
And Jordan.
And Jordan.
Jordan, yeah.
Okay,
I think Alexis McBride, young lady, great. Bill Lee, he's great. He could
that's
be-
one.
He could be under the senior citizen. He's also been very active in the community in different ways, many years.
He did not indicate on his application that he represented the senior community, but he did indicate that he represented people with disabilities as well as the African American and Black community.
Okay, whatever thought he can fit in. Nobody wants to admit they're disabled.
At some point, I remember my dad went from like, no, and then at some point he realized he could get the senior discount, and it was all over then.
And I was like,
He reached it, at some point, he was like, nah, I'm a senior. I want the tag on my car and the whole thing.
So, Patrick Gein,
No, Patrick, we've got for some other
I
place.
think
Richard Walker.
we got Jordan for the LGBT.
Richard Walker. We've got Patrick for neighborhood revitalization.
okay.
Um,
So Mr. Walker could fall into well, it shows that he falls into the senior and elderly.
Richard? I thought he falls into the LGBT.
He does too.
Who?
Mr.
Mr.
Walker is
Walker.
also,
Oh, you're right.
He indicated on his application that he represented voters.
He was a
Yeah, he
good
does.
applicant.
Yeah. Steve Jackson, he's up there at the top. He is a black gentleman, but he's also a pastor.
yes, he's the guy that was 33 years with UPS.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And he also has a business, and he also has a church, very involved.
Where can we, Jim, I need some help on Robert Beeman. What else did Mr. Beeman apply for?
Neighborhood development. And Marcus Leon, he was out of town, so he didn't come. But maybe later on we could consider him. He's a up and coming Hispanic business person. They got all the taquerias, temple, and good development, very short.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Marcus Leon,
Is his dad one?
his dad passed away a couple of years ago, but they had like 10 kids.
Okay, does he have all the trace again? All the trace again?
No, taquerias.
Different taqueria. Okay.
Is it Jalisco or different?
Yes.
Jalisco.
Yeah. The one on the blue.
Oh, that one's hot right now.
Which
There's
one?
a lot of people out there.
Which one? Where?
Not little, I think there's two right beside each other.
Yeah,
Not Little Mexico.
And it's not Little Mexico, it's
the one,
the
the other one.
Jalisco.
Yeah, the real one.
Which is
The
the one that
old
looks
one,
like a
yeah.
castle? On I-35, it looks like a castle.
That's a trace.
No, basement guys.
The
No,
one you're
that's farther
Oh,
down.
no.
This is by the middle.
Sold.
Yeah, that used to be rental rates.
I went in there the other
We
day.
did.
Oh, maybe so.
They.
I'm just, every time I'm there, I see him, and I'm not here very much.
Shakes.
Anyway.
All right, I think we're off topic at this point.
I think we've actually gone down a rabbit hole.
Enchiladas.
We're just making simple plans.
So if I can just reiterate right now the names I heard, Benny Walsh, Jennifer Klaus, Bill Lee, Richard Walker, Jordan Valentine, is it Valentine or Valentine? Gil Hawley, Lexi McBride, and Steve Jackson. That's a really good mix right now. You got people, representing all but one category, and you just didn't have anybody apply who indicated they represented the Asian, Native American, or a Pacific Islander. So if you have one more slot that could pull, if that's accurate and you want to appoint those 8, then you've got one more that can come from any
Did
category.
you mention Rick Walker?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
I thought Jordan was filling his slot.
Better.
Senior elderly community
Oh,
and LGBTQ, Mr. Walker represents both. But also remember, you can appoint up to 2 people from each category.
Yeah. What about Robert Beeman?
I think he'd be good here as well.
he'd be very, yeah, he.
Miss Elena Aguilar, did she apply for anything else?
Yeah, sort of. Vaguely.
She has a big personality.
Yes, yeah. Huge and very,
Someone that
very,
said-
So positive.
Something about, I just don't quit.
oh, yes, I remember.
I needed some of that day. I need some of your energy.
So that's all positions, if that's what Benny
So-
Walsh, Jennifer Klaus, Robert Beeman, Bill Leak, Richard Walker, Jordan Valentine, Gail Holly, Lexi McBride, and Steve Jackson.
What do we decide on, Elena?
Yeah,
That's the only one she applied for, the DEI.
Temple High School graduate. She was really energetic. Very, I'd say if this commission were to lag in any way, she'll whip it into shape in 2 seconds.
Okay, so now we move on
So
to,
we did include her, or we didn't?
did not,
Oh, we gotta put her somewhere.
We have 7.
I've got
I'm sorry, would you mind reading those again?
Benny, Klaus, Gil Holly, Richard Walker, Bill Leak, Jordan, Steve Jackson. Is that, get everybody?
Did you say Lexi McBride?
Yes, ma'am. Steve Jackson, Lexi McBride, and Robert Beeman. Does anybody, y'all feel strongly about Elena?
Yes.
Would you rather put her in than maybe Robert?
Well, where would we put Robert? We should put him
He's in
somewhere.
our neighborhood revitalization.
Oh.
His first choice was actually neighborhood
Oh,
revitalization.
yes,
You want to do that?
yeah.
Are y'all okay with that?
But you make
Elena?
Yeah, maybe the validation is gonna get.
Watch now that I say she'll whip him into shape. If there's anybody
in whose place is she?
flagging, she'll drop out in a month.
Beeman?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, so we just took Beeman off and put Elena on, correct?
And we put Beeman on, maybe we will put when we get there.
And like Jessica said, it maybe, we'll see.
Uh-oh,
Let us
we
get
gotta put her
there.
somewhere.
All right. ESAB, Emergency Services.
This one has 2, and there are 2.
Davis and Arwood.
Deontay was just really impressive, I thought. He just had so much energy. He was just excited about getting involved. I think he's going to be a good fit anywhere. That's why he applied for so much. Deontay Davis.
Right for.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, a lot
yeah.
of personality.
Oh, no, he was,
Yeah, I'm glad we're putting him in.
yeah.
District 2. Looks like you have 2, Tucker and Ina.
Yeah.
So I just, as a note, neither Tucker nor Ina applied for the Emergency Services Board. So, Mayor, you may want to reach out and just confirm that they would accept the appointment, or staff can do that. If that's your,
No, I'll do it.
other than sending them an email that said you wanted to interview them for that board, I don't know that anyone has made personal contact with them.
Jen, if you could make a note to get me their info, I appreciate it. District 3.
Sandra Creech. I can't remember Jerry Brown. Can somebody help out here?
Mr. Brown is the guy that said that his wife,
And
Sign him
that's
up.
why I can't remember. I only had one person for District 3. Sorry.
well,
Who is this Rochelle?
I don't
It's
know.
that. She was really young. She wore the ball cap. She worked for IT, for the Human Services.
Just moved here from
Just,
Houston.
Was she on Zoom?
Cardenas.
No, she can't.
Oh,
This,
animal services was her first.
Oh, yeah, that's
this might be a good, well, but animal services is full now, right?
Right, no.
Um,
Actually, DEI was her first choice on her application.
Well, when she got here, she had another first
Okay,
choice.
changed your mind.
I mean, this might be a good place to put Mr. Branham. Or Miss Rochelle.
Mr. Branham, whose wife sent him? That Mr. Branham?
You might need some emergency service.
That might be.
Your call.
Or we can just wait, we can go through and come back and pick. There may be some others that.
Only
Yeah,
go.
let's do that.
Okay.
And I would suggest Rachel be first.
Well, and we also have a city pick on this.
Well, then put Rachel in the city and Mr. Branham in 3 and.
Well, let's see what Mr. Williams says.
And then we'll need a backup when somebody doesn't show.
And what do you think?
Brent Blumenthal and Brandon Belize, Belez. He, if you'll recall, had emergency service experience. His wife's in the military.
That's important.
Who was the one guy? Who's the other guy that had emergency service experience? Older gentleman? Maybe he was at
Could
Scott
be in
Water.
here anywhere.
What was that guy's name? I just thought about him last
The
time.
librarian,
Huh?
the librarian, Scott White, you said?
No, this guy, he, like he was an EMT himself, and then later on, he was an administrator for EMT. That guy, he might be.
Oh, I know who you're talking about, Brandon Bellis. New resident, military,
Well,
law.
that's just now who.
That's who I just nominated.
Sorry, I can't
We don't
listen to
let
that.
us
and go
wander
through these
around
at the
here.
same time. Brent,
No,
did we,
that's not
did
the
we,
same guy.
Brent Blumenthal, did you do
Because
him?
I was in on that interview.
On the last day, right?
Yep, I think so. I'll have it.
Are you looking for the general? Or see what district he's in?
Brent Blumenthal, that was them,
Is that Blumenthal?
yeah,
That's what I was just,
Yeah, but he's District 4, I just nominated.
yes.
yeah.
Oh, here he is. It's Brent Blumenthal.
That's who I was just reading about, saying, yes.
Maybe I need to speak more distinctly.
No, as
Maybe I
I
need to
said,
do
I
better with
can't
my
read it and
notes
listen
here.
at the same time.
Okay, so then we have a city spot available.
Gotta have Brent Blumenthal.
If we don't have a spot, as we go on, there was one person that really, Heather Smith,
I do.
Heather Smith, we saw her right at the very end.
She's the first,
Yeah, I don't know if she'd be interested in this. She said she'd be interested in doing anything, so if we want to come back, if she doesn't
Somebody
find
sure
a
keep
spot,
What district?
she's in one.
And she's the one who's the minister, and yes, yeah.
She, I thought, would be kind of someone that we could put anywhere and she would.
What
She
about-
said she would.
what about that Mr. Shelton? He sat right there. He was the guy that had worked in like Bell County Sheriffs and worked in prisons. You remember talking about?
Yeah, I think he applied for CPAC.
He did, and he said it was his only interest.
No, remember that?
I thought
that
he
the one
was,
that he applied.
he was an impressive guy, I thought.
He was very. Huh?
I don't think so.
I know, I don't think so either.
Byron Shelton.
Have we found a place for Mr. Gonzalez, Michael Gonzalez?
Well, I think his first one was, historic preservation or.
We're not to him yet.
Byron Shelton, you're talking
Yeah.
about him. District 4, this was, the Citizens Police Advisory Commission was his only choice, first and only choice. Texas Commission on Jail Standards, Bell County Sheriff's Department for 19
Right.
years, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
He was a very good candidate.
He did get fit here.
That might be, and he was in District 4.
We're gonna check his application to see if he checked that box. Would he be willing to serve?
Well, and,
Byron Shelton.
Yes, he did check that box.
okay, that would be another one that I could call.
Or E ESAB.
Yes. Are y'all okay with that?
Sure. It's a good thought.
So we're okay here, except we're just short one in District 3. All right.
We
All right.
have Rachel.
Well, I know, I wouldn't, I just trying to make sure my notes are correct.
Well, we can do Rachel.
I don't remember her.
She was
No.
very, she was pretty energetic. Animal Services is her first choice. She's the one who has 2 or 3 autistic children, moved here from Houston. Mother-in-law lives with her, redoing the house. We thought, you retired before she went through the litany of her life.
Yeah.
But she's very familiar with special needs and special communities, i.e. emergency services. She'd be quite good for this.
And this is one she applied for?
Is what she applied for, but then when she got here, she said really she likes to foster animals on top of everything. So she'd like to, animal services was of interest.
Okay.
Well,
I guess then let's leave that spot open for now.
I actually understand, I wrote down, she said, I quoted, understands physical and mental needs with emergency services. See, her idea of getting on boards is a way to get to know the community. I'd say
Put her on there?
put her for District 3.
And her name again is Rachel what?
Rachel Hademenos, Hademenos.
Okay. Historic preservation.
Lots of them.
Professions, though, that I think we need to get back at some point. Anthropologist.
Oh, they got pulled off some list. Okay. Let her rip. Historic property owner, Beth Mackey, everybody remember her?
Oh, yeah.
Kay, I would like to have Kay for historic property owner.
Okay.
Quita?
Queen. Now, this was one of those, weren't we gonna try to find, were we gonna try to put Caitlin West on this one?
Put her in.
Put her in Citizens.
Citizens leasing, okay.
This is where you want Michael Gonzalez to send. Would be good.
Jess Swindle is the person you were talking about, Jessica from the Scott and White Historic
Yeah, and
Library.
he could be professional.
He can be professional.
Okay, so Michael, Mr. Gonzalez as a property owner?
He is not a property owner.
He would be
He lives in
professional.
Western Hills.
Yes.
Yeah,
He does
he
qualify.
owned a place in New Orleans or something.
Right.
Yeah, okay. so that's
And
right.
redid in the historic district in New Orleans.
He does qualify for the profession specific.
He's the
One of
one that
those
was a
four spots.
policeman in New
How
Orleans.
does he qualify?
I believe he's in construction.
Rachel McDonald,
Yes.
he's retired.
Well, she's seen if he might fit under construction based on his application.
I think, okay, so I think the reason that I had a mix it there is because we talked about an amendment to the Historic Preservation Board requirements that you would either have one of those professions or a demonstrated interest in, not interest, a demonstrated, I forgot the
History.
word that we use, but essentially that you had, not, you didn't just like historic preservation, but you could demonstrate that you had some kind of work or trying to think of the word. So that would be similar to Fabian and Guy Fowler, who you interviewed for that board under the assumption that that amendment is passed. And they have demonstrated historic preservation knowledge.
It has that amendment. Are you going to? Is it coming up?
It will be presented for your consideration.
So can we make those appointments based on an amendment that hasn't been approved yet?
My advice is yes, but Kathy may feel differently.
It's not a legal impediment.
It's kind of like how you're making, like you're allowing Ginger to stay on, it's kind of as we transition, unless you, yeah, so it can be on the second meeting.
Is everybody good with that? Put Mr. Gonzalez on under that pending amendment?
I think Alice Bartley, the historic property owner, she's definitely showed that she is very involved.
Yes. Did you
So that
also
would be the three.
put Jeff Swindle on, Tim?
No, so Kay, Alice,
In Beth.
okay,
Beth Mackey. Did you say Beth or Meg?
Beth Mackey,
Okay.
Alice Bartley, and Kay Guida. And then profession specific, Mr. Swindoll, Michael Gonzalez. What about Guy? Cricket.
Sure, Kelly Garcia is also someone that,
Guy and Kelly.
okay,
Did Kelly come interview?
she was
She's
on
on
Zoom.
Zoom. She was in Dallas, remember?
So that fills that one out. Beth, Alice, Kay, Guy, Jeff Swindoll, who's the Stockton White librarian, Michael Gonzalez, and Kelly Garcia. Everybody good with that?
He's retired, but he has previously owned and restored historic property in New Orleans.
Okay,
So he would fall under the pending amendment.
yes.
All right, very good. Library advisory board?
Are you looking at me?
I wrote down here, listen to Susan.
I just think you might have an opinion, maybe.
Just a thought.
Just a second.
If you can have the rest of it.
Is there a name, maybe issue
Yeah, I see that too.
between the,
Knudsen.
So we did not re-interview any of the people on.
That's correct.
Correct.
Okay, and so we need 3 general, is that correct, Jana?
Yes.
one of which has to live in the city, the other two can live either in the city or the county.
Right, okay, so I had Kathy Greco. Retired teacher. Mary Jo Lafler, relatively new here. Oh, wait, Kathy Greco. And Gloria Knudsen, who is the retired teacher, those two, and James Stafford. He was the extremely interesting, most
about Lafleur?
most energetic, huh?
What about Lafleur? Did you say Lafleur?
I did, and then I said, oh, wait, no, and I canceled that.
So, okay, so not Miss Lafleur.
Right, no, it was Gloria Knudsen
Okay.
And James Stafford,
and James Stafford.
who's not on.
That's the name that's cut off.
Gloria's the one who retired teacher from Fort Worth, taught reading, very interested.
Council, is everybody else okay with that? Main Street Advisory.
We would have made this a smaller print.
Yeah. This is another one with a lot of interest and a lot of interesting people.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is the best way to tackle this?
So you have two business owner positions that you need to appoint. The people who qualify for that are Joe Shepherd, Ashley Vernon, Moses Flores, or Ryan Flores, Jacob Bates, Patrick Guillen, David Patrick, and JD McBride. Joe, Ashley, Ryan, Patrick, and David all also need you could slot them in other places. Jacob and JD, that's the only slot they fit. Then you need two property owners. And the people who qualify for that are Kay, Guida, Widow. How did you say that, Jessica? I feel like Guida, David Patrick, Joe Shepherd, Ashley Vernon, and Ryan Flores. And of course, many of those names are overlapping with business owners because they own a business and the property. And then David is also, can also be considered for the architect or engineer position. And if you, and you also have a community leader slot, which is, up to your determination on who's a community leader. And you would want to put in there, you do need to fill an architect or engineer slot. You've got Mackenzie Wilby, Kelly Garcia, and David Patrick that are needing that. Mackenzie and Kelly only fit in that slot, or community leader if you designate them that way. You need a community leader. You consider Charlie for that, but again, you could consider other people that you deem as community leaders. You need an educational representative. So Lois Ryder, Christine Parks, and Meg Petruka were all potentially eligible for that slot. Chamber of Commerce, Rod Henry applied, and while you didn't request an interview with him, you were considering him for the chamber's position. And then you've got an EDC and an RZ rep, and you need a commercial broker, villager, or banker. And the choices that you have for that particular slot are Jeremy Jurasic, Anna Morris, Bryant Ward, and Brooke Fowler.
So I think for the educational representative, Christine Parks is a good fit. So I'm okay with that.
Apparently, Jacob Bates is very business owner. And Patrick Guillen.
Patrick Ian, yes. He's very good. Obviously, Joe Shepherd is.
Yeah, those three. And Moses too, but that's the son, right? Son.
Ryan, yeah.
Oh, he was a very good applicant.
So property owners, we're thinking Bates and Gian, or I'm sorry, I said property business owner.
Yeah.
And then property owner,
Shepherd.
Yeah.
And
We need to put in JD McBride.
Who?
JD McBride. He's
Oh,
been
right.
very involved.
so do you put him in a community leader or business owner?
Who is that? Is that Bishop McCoy?
Yes.
No,
no, no, no.
Oh, oh,
he
no,
owns
that's
fine.
Fire-based brewery, Fire-based
Oh,
brewery.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Patrick, I don't have him listed, but he owns property in the Main Street District, so you could put JD in the business owner. He doesn't own his property, so I don't think he would qualify for property owner, but Patrick does. I believe.
So you've covered the two business owners and the two property owners, Joe Shepherd, Patrick Bates, Jacob Bates, Patrick Goodwin, and JD, right?
Moses Flores was young and upcoming and interested. No?
Did we just say yes to that?
I'm getting lost in how many
So,
total do we need?
so Judy, here's what we have right now. We have Jacob Bates and JD McBride as business owners.
Okay.
And then we have Joe Shepherd and Patrick Gian as property owners. And then skip down a couple to Christine Parks as educational representative, Rod Henry as chamber.
Is Ryan still a realtor?
Is who?
Ryan Flores, is he a broker or realtor? At some point, he worked for,
Well,
He worked for
he
Lloyd
worked for
Thomas.
Lloyd. He's working at
Cleaning
Yeah,
now,
Johnny
but I
right
think
now.
he-
on his application, he says he's a licensed real estate agent. So if that's, I didn't list him as someone who fit the commercial broker realtor, but he does have a commercial, I don't know if he's currently working in that, but he has, that. So I'm sorry, I didn't include him.
And let's not, as we're going through this, let's not forget about Lois Ryder.
I was gonna say,
I agree
this is
fully.
very important. The music group, the music
Can
academy.
would she fit at community leader?
I would run it. I mean, I think Charlie has more connections. I think Lois is great with the music, but I don't know if it's her.
I think you'd be surprised at Lois's connection.
I think so.
Yeah, she's quiet,
Yeah.
but
Well, oh,
She's
yeah.
a class act.
yeah. Okay, so let's, before we just firing off names, let's think about this a bit. So architect and engineer, that could be Patrick. That could be,
You're talking about David Patrick.
yes, ma'am.
Or Mackenzie will be, who's young,
I don't know. Oh, I do. She works for MRB.
right?
Yes, that's right.
So
And we just
Kelly,
put Kelly on.
we just put Kelly on the, David is, he's very kind to come no matter what, but he did say he was interested.
Yeah, I think he brings a lot to the table.
Yeah.
I was just looking at
Oh, he
three names today.
Yeah.
I think it's really very good to have KPA represented. I really do.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Huh?
Okay, so let's, but wait, let's, so it seems to me that the ones are kind of up for grabs right now are architect or engineer, community leader, and commercial broker. All right. And so the ones that we feel like following that, I thought we're throwing a bunch of names around. It's moving faster than I can think about. So we're talking about Patrick,
Yeah, for architect or engineer.
Wilby, Payne,
So it says EDC and RZ, they need to be a member of those boards.
You didn't specify that in the policy. So currently on, or as the, I guess previously under the Main Street Advisory Committee, you had a mix of, members and staff members. So I think, for example, Dr. Ott represented TISD. Rod is a employee of the chamber versus a board member. So
And these people are board members.
reinvestment zone.
No.
My recommendation to you for reinvestment zone is to be a board member because that's a city board. TEDC, you could treat that like the chamber or, ask for it to be a board member since it's not a city board. But I think consistent with our past practice, the reinvestment zone would be represented by a board member because otherwise you'd have a city employee on
Yeah, and I have.
there, which I don't like.
Scott Cannell be a good representative from the EDC.
As an employee, not a board member.
Just somebody that represents the organization. We're doing Rod Henry, who's an employee, not a board.
Sure.
And when you look at the membership on the PDC overlaps with who's already serving on 2 boards, the opportunity to appoint someone from the board gets pretty slim, especially someone who might be particularly engaged in this topic. So my personal opinion is somebody like Scott or Elizabeth, who's their marketing and Elizabeth would probably be an even better fit, in my opinion, just because one of the pillars of this organization is marketing. So, Heather and her have a close working relationship. So that might be appropriate if you're comfortable appointing a staff person.
They may be more invested as a staff person.
There's one of the comments Joey put about more presentation, more marketing.
I think that's fine.
Sorry, what's her name again?
Elizabeth,
I can't think of the last.
let me look it up real quick. I'm sorry. No, I think that was a few staff members ago, I think.
I see your face.
RC board. Michelle Degatano would be a good person to involve in
Oh,
Main
yeah.
Street. She's on too many boards.
And she was on fire. She'd be good though.
Yeah, it's on RZ, she's not on the board
Who?
team.
Oh, Amanda. I think I said, yes.
Yeah.
You were right.
Okay, so
I was totally wrong. I don't know what I was thinking.
we're thinking Amanda Carlson.
I was going with it.
I read it down.
What? Architect or engineer.
So David Peck.
Is that okay with everybody?
He was on the original committee. Hearing.
So as community leader, does Lois, does she fit that bill as far as y'all are concerned?
Absolutely.
I really like her. I think Charlie has been on this committee in the past, has been very involved.
She'll bring a lot to it.
Charlie or Lois?
Well, it's really important to keep the Academy Music involved with Main Street events.
We already put Charlie on something.
We did. We did.
What do we put?
I'm not sure what his first choice was. I just gave you,
This one.
remove him from something that he feels passionate about. And they have the meetings in his office.
So what I see the advantage, I guess if you make a list of pros and cons. For me, the pros of Lois would be she has some connections, super organized, lots of energy, and she's super dependable. If she says she's gonna do something, she does it.
As does Charlie.
Yeah. And Charlie has a
Cons,
connection with the work.
she drives a Prius.
Say what?
She drives a
There you go.
Say that again? Say what? She drives a Prius? Good for her.
Anything to
You're on
irritate
the
you.
council.
I think we have two very,
Yeah.
How about if we,
So what do you know?
can we make another category?
Kathy?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure out who someone is, sorry. It was related. to
Don't
this.
ask Cassie.
No, I promise it was totally related to this. You can check my phone. Second category for what?
Just, you know,
We
go back to your phone.
No, so is it in the policy though, which?
Well, of course not. Of course, that's why I'm saying go back to your phone.
So you want me to?
So-
Education, other two.
And we've always, we've always put somebody on the board. The sitting member of the board is the appointee. But because I just checked my phone, I got with Steve Wright a long time ago about getting an appointment from RZ for this, and he said, will do, never got back.
I think that was TEDC. Did you talk to Tyler about RZ?
But he's probably right, he never got back either.
Either one of them do that.
And Tyler initially asked to put it on the agenda to nominate someone, at their meeting they had last week, and then he asked Janet to take it off and defer to Brian Daniel, because he was gonna appoint Brian Daniel. So I think that's why,
We don't have one.
Tyler didn't feel like it was his place to make the
Understand.
recommendation. So I think that's why he hasn't got back with you. I didn't realize he hadn't communicated with you, but he did send that to Jenna, and me. So,
Wait a minute. The Academy Music is a nonprofit. Is that, the Academy Music is a nonprofit, can they categorize as a business owner? Can't stretch that in any way?
I'm thinking,
The lowest, I mean,
I'm mentally looking around the table at reinvestment zone, wondering who would be interested in this.
I looked at the list and I really didn't have anything that jumped out.
Me too. So I'm wondering if we could talk to RZ. Charlie knows those folks. I wonder if they would be amenable to appointing Charlie as their representative.
good idea.
Does that give you heartburn? That does break the tradition.
is Workforce a member of the chamber? Not on the board, but a member? In good standing.
I'm sure they are.
Sure.
It's a good question. Oh, yeah. Sure they are. They're in their building. They're all-
I think Rod would want to be on it though. I think he'd prefer to be in the middle of it. Y'all have a problem with me? Brent, do you have a problem with me reaching out to RZ and asking about Charlie? I think you do.
Her hair's on fire.
it's because he doesn't have any relationship with them, I don't see how that would fit in that category. I would probably suggest you consider I mean, y'all, of course, y'all can appoint who you want to. I don't think that was the intent of the policy.
Is there a legal barrier to that?
There are no legal barriers to any of your appointments. I mean, unless it's something that's statutory. It's not
Right.
statutory.
Now she tells us no legal barriers.
Because there's not one right now.
You could consider adding a couple of, so this board is on the larger side with 11 members, but it's not the largest board you have. And right now, the way it's functioning is there's maybe more people involved. So, one opportunity would be to consider adding a couple of just general slots or
Like the
a
arts.
couple of more community leader slots, so that you have a little bit more flexibility. But I would recommend keeping an odd number. So if you're gonna add one, I would add two. I would feel more comfortable with that than having Charlie represent the investment zone. But as Kathy mentioned, and be clear, it's really up to you, but that to me is a pretty stretchy interpretation.
Okay.
But if you feel comfortable with it, that's really all that matters.
So if we add two,
I say we add two, and,
Have a community leader and maybe somebody from the arts.
yeah, I was gonna say Meg Patricia, who we skipped on something historic. And she is, president of the Temple Symphony.
And her dad just died.
He did.
Yep.
Do
She
you
talked
want
about it
to-
that day.
Yeah,
Do you want to be specific to the arts, or do you want to be more general that way? It fits now, but 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I thought about that. So maybe add one community leader slot and then
And one
add, what
arts
do we
slot.
call,
What do you-
well,
just add
what Ms.
one
Davis
more
just said, maybe not make it that specific.
Oh.
What'd you say?
Add one more education slot.
My recommendation is to add two general slots. Two general slots, because you're fitting something that works today, but when you do this again next year or 5 years from now, you might have a different circumstance. And I don't think it's inappropriate. Most of your boards, you have general slots, and so that's probably something that, I generally advise against, making, board makeup decisions or organizational decisions based on people. But I think in this case, it probably makes a lot of sense to have a couple of general slots that you can put good, interested, passionate people in them. And that would probably serve you well for years to come.
So we're making,
Good to see.
um,
so Charlie is community leader?
Yeah, he's a community leader. This first general spot would be Lois Wright. And the second general spot, and I was just asking if that would be, and might be a good spot for Anna
I
Morris.
didn't know neighborhood revitalization, that's really her passion.
Okay.
And I agree, she's a good fit anywhere.
I really would like to see Meg involved.
Do you have any Zoomers?
Ashley Vernon was a Zimmer.
No, that's her.
No. I'm asking if we have anybody.
Oh, you can see it right up there, man. It's just us. Oh, well, if you could see, but no, I'm just- if you could see that part. There's
Okay,
somebody.
so
This is a
Right, so-
recorded meeting and it's being broadcasted. So
Yep.
someone could be, it's a recorded meeting. All I'm gonna say.
So Ms. Norris. I don't think I was here.
I don't think you were either. She came right at the end on our last day. She was the last one that we saw. She's full of energy. She's young. She's flipping houses, but not in a quick way. I mean, she's taking them down and bringing them back to their original grandeur. So
But if you're sliding her for neighborhood.
I would like to
take
see her
on.
in neighborhood revitalization.
Okay,
Is she the person who's doing the box dog?
No, that's Ashley Vernon.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and she's someone else that would also fit well here, that wants to get involved, although she's a school teacher now, so I don't know. Didn't remember that, she was worried about.
She had the
she's on the
And
set.
she's opening the coffee shop.
Yeah, she's one that said her husband could sit in if she couldn't.
Yes.
Team member, I like it.
Okay, so We're up to 13 now on
We've not chosen
Main Street.
a realtor banker broker.
We haven't chosen the, so what did we decide on the other general slot? Lois and
Meg,
Meg?
no?
I'm asking.
Sure.
Are you sure?
That's fine.
Meg applied for, I guess her main interest was historic preservation. Am I wrong?
I think she's open to any, she said if you felt like I would fit somewhere, she'd be fine.
Yeah, her primary was historic preservation.
For realtor, maybe we could look at, what is, Brian,
Check the box now.
What about Bryant Ward?
She's on P and Z right now.
Is he,
Yeah.
He's the chair.
how much time does he have?
what about you?
He was disappointed.
Who?
Jeremy?
Yeah, he didn't, he applied for something else.
Yeah, I like this.
They've been real thick for a long time.
He's a fairly young man.
What about, what did, Brooke Fowler? No, she did Main Street and preservation. Anything else?
Did you put down Joe Shepherd?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, so before we go on, we still have a commercial broker, realtor, or banker, and then we have one general spot.
We were talking about.
Meg is in the general. Is that correct? So we're needing,
And Lois.
yeah, Lois is I think we have one of those new general spots still available. Lois is taking one,
Meg is taking it.
and Meg is taking the other. Okay.
Brooke would be good.
Who?
Brooke, she'd be good. She's young.
For the commercial realtor.
Did Brooke Fowler have any other applications? Or just the two?
Yeah, the historical and things.
Right. Anything else?
Main Street.
In Main Street.
This is Main Street.
Oh, historic and Main Street.
Yep. And Mr. Jurassic had other applications, correct?
He had one earlier that we saw, but he wasn't selected. I don't remember which one that was.
PSAB.
Is this the only two, PSAB in this one?
No. He's got,
Planning and zoning.
RZ, BBA.
So we can maybe slot him in somewhere else. You want to do, Brooke on this one? As a realtor? I'm asking, I'm not telling.
Jeremy was a
Y'all
good
good
candidate. I'm not saying
Good in ZBA.
good. Excellent. He's young and was interested. We want to get him hooked in.
Was that good?
It gets us there.
Well, wait a minute, what about Amanda? Where do we put her?
Who's Amanda?
EDC.
EDC, okay, I'm sorry.
Oh,
We just not anybody in the village,
Ashley Vernon is someone that we need to
but they'll have to appoint some.
think of at some point, because she's a business owner. They're getting started.
was she the teacher who did
Yeah, and she's got a lot of energy, and of course they're making a sizable move, you know, from Austin to Temple, buying a house, living there, and obviously a lot of it. She might be someone who you can consider soon enough. I mean, I love Meg,
No,
but she's
you're
not
right.
part of Main Street. I mean, she's someone who's,
Right, I understand.
you can put her anywhere, she's gonna excel, but you know, I don't know her
No, you're right.
very specific about Main Street.
So do you
The
want
one
to?
that said that, you know, she's a teacher and she can only participate in the programs.
I know, and that worries me. So I think this new All the attention. So,
Also keep in mind that for this particular board, you've given them the authority, and I anticipate they're gonna take it to set up committees where the committee members don't have to be members of the board. That's kind of the intention. So they could absolutely appoint Ashley as a committee member, which may be a better fit for her, because those committee meetings are sometimes, they'll be able to choose the time. They could meet, at a time that is more convenient, and then maybe if her circumstances change, and, these appointments are done annually. So, in the next year or two, if her circumstances change, you could always consider her for a slot, but maybe, recommending her for a committee membership. And we'll make a note to pass that on to
That's great.
whoever's the board chair to try to get her in one of the committees if you think that might be a good fit.
But we can do the same with Meg for committee. Meg is retired, right?
She is, so
Yeah.
yeah.
So she's more flexible.
Right.
In that sense.
Yeah.
Then,
So who says Meg
Great stays.
now? If you,
Meg could be the committee.
but so could the teacher.
Actually,
Yeah, that,
I
the,
think probably for now.
Ashley's gonna
this
have
is
a
probably the
town
best.
district. That we know of.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're squared on that one? Neighborhood revitalization. Did, Ms. Wilby, did she have another application? I don't see her on this one. Okay. So we have 3 from neighborhood planning districts, 4 for the city, and then 2 with no residency requirements.
Those two, though, have to, one has to represent affordable housing,
Right.
and the other is housing and non.
Yep.
So yeah, those two I think are a good. And we already have slated Caleb Longino and Zoe Brand.
That's good.
So which ones?
Who were the two?
Affordable housing Caleb
Caleb?
and housing.
And Zoe?
nonprofit,
In general, there's Susan Luck and Manuela Lenise.
I think we've got that
Those are
Susan.
good.
Well, you can put Susan in neighborhood planning district, couldn't you?
She does both, I
Yeah.
guess.
Let's put her there,
Put her where?
And so does
Neighborhood
Mr.
plan.
Alanis.
because those may be a little bit more difficult to fill.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute, what,
That's not on there.
What?
In PD,
What are you talking about?
3 of the members have to live within one of the 18 neighborhood planning
Oh,
districts.
gotcha.
Oh, that.
Mrs. Luck and Mr. Alanis both qualify.
Talking about another committee.
So then, and then
Me too.
I didn't
okay, so
And then you
Neighborhood.
have 4 generals.
Yeah. neighborhood planning district, Susan Luck is one, right?
Manuela Lenise?
Manuel Alaniz,
Anna Morris. Anna Morris.
Where's that? Oh, Anna Morris, did you say? Okay. Did we put Robert Beeman, or we took him off the other? What did we
You
do?
took him off.
Can we put him back on this one? Robert Beeman?
I'd like to see Shannon Myers on here.
Yes, for sure, Shannon.
so I believe this one was Mr. Beeman's first choice.
Yeah.
So you want to put him on general? So Robert Beeman,
This was Patrick Dean's first choice.
But we put him in another, correct?
So we did?
You put him on the diversity,
Oh,
equity, inclusion, I believe. Let me go back and double check.
Lester Fedek was very interesting.
okay,
Is, but didn't we have plans for him?
Oh, no, Main Street. I'm sorry, it's what you put him on.
Oh, and Cameron Vince was very interested, yes.
Yeah.
And the answer is yes.
Did you say Lester?
okay, hold on. Y'all can talk about, I'm getting confused, so
And
I'm just starting at the top. Susan, Manuel Alaniz, Anna Morris,
And that brings it back to 3.
Yeah. Robert Beeman is the general,
Yep.
Shannon Myers.
Yes.
Cameron,
Sorry, go ahead.
okay, Cameron,
Yeah, I think Cameron.
although she also wanted parks. she was
Oh,
good
Cameron
for
Benz.
And Lester Fode. And then you've got the affordable housing and not for profit.
Yep.
That's what we need is nine.
Thought that one was gonna be harder.
those.
And that Kyle Grant Cranville.
Oh, wait, it still might be.
Did you say it's a Lester?
You're gonna get us all. Okay, so we're good? Parks. So these are district wide. Doug Smith is an incumbent for District 1.
Okay.
Alicia Dawson for District 3. Let's fill in the blanks first. And Joey Agee is District 4.
Right.
Have you had any communication with him as whether he wants to stay or we'll just leave him there?
You wanted to stay.
Okay, so back to. Number application. Heather
This
Smith,
is the one, Heather
Just want
Smith.
to have an opportunity here.
he does.
Okay, so Heather Smith.
Yes.
Smith's coming in on District 1. District 2, she pulled.
Jana, did Kathy Kruger,
She,
not show up or?
I don't remember.
she wasn't very nice when we called. Actually, Christina called me. She said, don't call me on at work. And she said, if it's important enough, you find another time to call. She told Christina.
Okay.
So that needless to say, she did not.
Wow.
She
Okay,
also made a Facebook comment on
Oh.
the webinar that we did
Hmm.
that, we responded to, but she said it had been a couple of days since she applied and she hadn't heard anything from the city. And the tone, the Facebook tone, if you can read Facebook tones, was not kind.
Tucker Williams.
so we don't,
Yeah, Tucker's already on something else.
who?
Tucker Glass.
On this
So
one,
do we not have anybody for District 2?
you didn't interview anyone for District 2.
All right, so District 3,
And you-
one,
And I'm sorry, you also need to make a decision regarding Lacey Adams, who lives in Belton. We have her kind of slotted in the District 2 slot, because her term, will not expire until March of 2022. She wasn't eligible when she got appointed, but, I just needed to confirm, but I think y'all want to keep her on until her term. And so I've got her slotted in a District 2 slot right now, but that
is that all right with you?
Yeah, that's fine
it doesn't have to be that way.
for now.
Yeah, this might be a good one for Tucker to get in on, if he was interested.
Yeah.
He would fit there. Okay, so we have Alicia Dawson as an incumbent in District 3. We need one more from District 3.
Either Bill or Steve.
both have been placed on other boards as well, right?
I believe we've already, yes, I believe, yes.
I would probably go with, I'd go with Steve of the two, for Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Didn't he mention some coaching? He coached some kids. Are we good with that?
Sure. Absolutely. Okay, everybody's gonna be living in District Two. Okay. Better move back.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So Mike Pilkington says he's stepping down.
Yeah, we didn't have anybody apply for, and I didn't realize it was gonna be empty. Maybe I knew it and forgot it, so I don't have anybody to recommend.
So
He had initially said that he wanted to stay on. So, and you didn't have any vacancies in District 4.
Right.
You did have some applications.
Hey, that man missed that. That might have been the afternoon, I missed that afternoon.
It was when you had to step out a little bit early when you did those, yeah. So you do have several people that, applied from District 4. And 4 of them, it was their first choice. So you had, Relisha Hodges, Tiffany Page, Justin Winkler, and Alexis Prager all had applicants from District 4 that was their first choice. You also had Daniel Chapin, Lester Fettig, Tony Hale. Let me make sure I'm looking at the right one. To you, yeah. I'm sorry. Tony Hale, JD McBride, Tom Bradigan, Clinton Weaver, and Dana Ferrara also applied. So
So we didn't interview.
you didn't interview because at the time we thought, at the time we scheduled interviews, we thought Mike was gonna continue to serve.
last time I talked to Mike, he was willing to continue, as he since called in and said,
Right.
yes, he has said he didn't want to.
Right, and he said that in the interview, but he said, you know, if we twisted his arms, he would, but it's not what he wants.
Okay.
What if you moved Scott Keela to District 4, and then we did a citywide appointment in Scottsville?
Yes, you could do that.
That would get everybody talking about who needs
Yeah,
to
well
be in.
done.
Excellent,
Good again.
God, that was-
You're doing your job.
Okay, now y'all come up with a citywide appointment.
Pilkington.
There you go.
Oh, you
No,
know,
Bill
not,
Lee.
what about like McBride's, who only, let's see.
I
That's
don't
something
remember.
Mia might be interested
Who
in.
did put her on something, though we haven't put Mia or the bishop.
Yeah, but did he express any interest in parks?
No, I'm just throwing a name out.
Oh, right, okay,
Someone that-
minor detail.
Well, Heather Smith, again, wanted parks, that was her number one.
Yes,
I don't know if she would want to do two, we could consider someone else in that position.
When did we put her on previously, and did one of the McBrides, Mia or Bishop apply for that?
Mia on the neighborhood.
I thought we were putting Heather on parks. That was her first choice.
It was, but we slotted her. Shoot,
Can y'all help me find it? I thought we-
That was my only record.
Was what?
Okay.
The last conversation we had about Heather was for parks.
Parks only?
no, we put her
Oh,
somewhere.
no,
No, we did, we got her down as District 1 Parks.
yeah,
She, because Doug Smith and Heather. or District 1.
Who, Heather Smith?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got her.
That's very one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder, she's a perfect fit.
She's embedded herself.
Purple's going to your head.
Yes, and it was her first
That was
choice.
close.
And she's young and very, very energetic and
So Cameron also said she wanted to be on parks, and she's someone that's got lots of energy. She would be good.
I thought we put her on
We did,
neighborhood revitalization.
we did. I just, it might be something.
Oh, wait, if we moved her to parks, was there somebody else for neighborhood revitalization that we wanted to,
That was her number one.
you read neighborhood?
Yeah,
Yes.
isn't that right?
We need to find a place for Bishop.
We what?
We need to find a place for Bishop.
Neighborhood revitalization was her number one.
Did McBride go for, apply for neighborhood revitalization?
Yes.
Why don't we put McBride on neighborhood revitalization and move Cameron to park? Even though I know it's your number 2.
I know, but she's my number one.
Neighborhood revitalization was Karen's first choice, but she was willing to do parks.
What, did Bishop McBride apply for planning and zoning? That one is for the other one there.
His first was CPAC. And then. No. Oh, neighborhood revitalization, yes.
Nobody applied for planning and zoning. I guess they-
What?
He also has planning and
That's
zoning
what
on
I'm
here
saying.
too.
Who do we put there instead? I mean, who do we remove? You put him in the general slot?
Yeah.
And leave Cameron where she is? Y'all fine with that?
I'm saying,
Run it by us again.
Bishop McBride, so we moved Scott Keela out of general
Yeah.
to 4.
for,
What about putting Bishop McBride on parks under general?
did Bishop McBride say he was interested in parks?
He did not. But he said he's willing to get pointed to something else. Of what he picked, that wasn't
A
one.
mother look or a wife look, but either way, I'm finished talking about it.
Should I get out the movement?
Yeah, you might.
No, I think we need a box.
No, I'm done. This conversation's over. And I'm afraid.
Bishop McBride, what did he put, what is his choices?
CPAC in order, well, you said it's not in order, right? But his number one was CPAC, then civil service, DEI, neighborhood revitalization, planning and zoning. And he said he is willing to be appointed to another board or commission if it needs to be filled.
You can't just take somebody who
There it is.
expresses four
That's what
things.
Jessica was
Put him
looking
in
at.
up there and say he didn't express
That's great.
interest in him.
Okay, so Bishop McBride. Then who?
Let me just say it again. We can't take somebody who expressed strong interest in four things and put them in a fifth thing they expressed no interest in. Have we done it to anybody else? Don't give me that dark places look.
I'm just asking.
Today's not over. We may do it several times.
Okay?
You did do that for Tucker Glasky and Ina Turner, I think, in ESAB. They didn't apply for that one. And you nominated them, so.
Yeah, and I'm not happy with that Tucker either. I'm sorry, I don't remember even. I'll be quiet. You
That's
want
civil
to
service.
listed.
That's the city manager's.
Good, Brent, you clean up this mess here.
Well, let's move on and come back.
Easy.
Didn't Bishop McBride say he was interested in P&Z?
Yes, ma'am.
No,
That's JD. That's the
JD McBride.
Ruxon Main.
She's just asking about Bishop McBride.
I don't think he said P and Z.
Yes, he did.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I think there's.
Pardon.
Both
seats there.
If Miss, Bishop McBride is Dwayne,
Uh-huh.
yes, he does
Okay.
have it.
Very good, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good, that takes care of the previous one and this one.
Did JD McBride, what was his number one?
We put him on downtown or Main Street, I think.
Good.
That was his
I
number.
was just curious, if that was his number one.
I believe so. On Main Street?
Is that a typo or do we have JD McBride? Is that JD McBride on P&Z? Is that a typo?
No, he also applied. You didn't ask Bishop McBride to interview for the planning and zoning commission, but
it
he
said
did
was.
apply to
Okay,
be on the.
okay. And he is District
Two.
All right, so let's talk about who's already on there. So from District 2, Bryant Ward is already on. District 4, Lee Armstrong. Daniel Jeans, District 3.
Fine. I think he's been a fine,
We've got one more term.
yeah, and I think he's been a fine,
Derek Marshall's District.
The only position that you have open, that doesn't have an incumbent applicant on P and Z is the general city administrator. You have two representatives from all
Oh, I was missing those.
four
up there,
districts.
Yeah.
The one that we have recommendations.
Lydia Alaniz from District 2 does term out in September. So,
So the last,
so this wasn't.
he doesn't live in District 2, I don't think.
District 1.
So if you were looking to appoint, Bishop McBride is in District 2. So you can.
that's interesting. It says Lester's in District 1, but he's in District 4.
Yeah,
Did he
So,
move during the course of
no,
this?
and this is one where, is, he doesn't fit in that district. I thought I had a note, it might have been dropped off of the printed version, but we slotted him there because because you have too many people from District 4. He has a current,
Business.
his term is current, he's in good standing, so instead of kicking somebody off in good standing, we temporarily slotted him in District 1 since he's coming off in 6 months.
So
he's the other
basically, we
district.
have one appointment for P&Z.
At this point,
At
if
this point, in September, we'll have two more.
yes, sir, and assuming, so you have 3 terms that you need to appoint, but 2 of them have incumbents that are interested and eligible, that being Jeremy Langley from District 1 and Paulino Castillo from District 3. The vacancy you have as a result of Donna Wright moving out of the city and stepping down.
All right, so we have a Jim.
What about maybe JD McBride there? And then put Ryan Flores in his spot on Main Street Advisory as a business owner, since that was JD's.
This is JD's number 1.
No, ma'am. Jeremiah McBride, Main Street was his.
Oh, okay, all right, it was bold.
It was also Flores's too.
So JD actually submitted 2 separate applications. One where he listed P and Z as his number 1, and a separate application where he listed Main Street. So they're tied for him for number 1. He was one of the only, maybe 1 or 2 other people did that, if I recall correctly. So he indicated on one application that this was his number one, and in a separate application that Main Street was.
Which one did he do second? Did he do it second time?
That I'm not sure, I'm sorry.
Usually, I think the
Well, he
second
would be
one
good at, I mean, he said that he was interested in both, getting more involved. So there probably more opportunities with you on P and Z and then get off committee on Main Street. Just a thought.
In his interview, he said Main Street was his first choice.
Okay. Then he is where
Well,
he needs to
he
be.
did, but then he also.
Well, I'm just telling you, but when he applied, that was one day, and
Yeah.
at a later date, when we saw him, by then, Main Street was his first choice. Today, who knows what his first choice is, but he just said that.
I don't know if the second name is ready for that next step.
So it's,
The second name, I don't know if it's ready. for
Oh,
the
Yeah,
next step.
I agree. I think JD.
it would be better. You had the
I
good
too agree.
idea of the switch.
Yeah, but if that's not what he wants, then I'd rather him take the time to fill it out. We have that opportunity available, we should honor it. Is there,
How about putting JD here and putting the other one on Main Street?
Yes. The idea of being readiness,
yeah, I just don't know if long enough, JD to be the choice.
yes.
I just assume that he would be happy. What did Doug Smith say he wanted to be in the meeting?
Doug Smith wanted,
On parts that said he would.
he really wanted, I think he was most interested in development standards.
Neighborhood revitalization.
Doug was neighborhood.
He didn't know anything about it, but he thought it was interesting.
Oh, you're right. Right.
All right, so we're putting Ryan Flores in on Main Street. Okay.
We're putting JD on.
Yeah. RZ,
Yes.
Yes.
are you ready to move on to reinvestment zone?
We haven't done part, we haven't finished part yet. 'Cause you got started talking about Bishop McBride and where he's fit.
I think we put a pin in parks for now. So we are one short. But we moved on.
I just had one person down. Can you tell me what your notes are?
In parks, I have Doug Smith, Heather Smith, Lacey Adams in District 2, Alicia Dawson, Steve Jackson, Joey Agee, and then we bumped Scott Keela up to District 4.
So
So
you'll
that leaves
actually,
us one in District 2 and then the general.
What happened to Bill Lee? Did we put him?
I think I thought we discussed both, but we put Steve Jackson in.
Well, I understand that for District 3, but we have a spot for another general. Oh, but the general has to be District 2?
We have a District 2 and we have a general.
How about Bill Lee for the general? And he expressed interest in it.
Okay, so we still need a District 2.
Wait, I'm not saying take Steve Jackson off.
No,
Right.
Okay, good.
yeah, Steve is District 3, Bill Leaks is general.
Right. I'm only saying that because it was his interest.
That's right. Okay. Is that good?
yeah, thank you.
Investment zone.
I think Mike would be a good fit.
I think everybody's in agreement with that, right?
Wendell, on Friday or Thursday, at our last meeting, you gave some roundabout thing about RZ. Do this now, do this later. Couldn't find my notes when I got home.
Oh, yeah, that's, we've done the one.
Yeah, we come to, we
We've done one.
covered that?
Yeah, we're good
Okay.
to go.
But all these folks are strong. It's a good group.
Oh, for sure.
So zoning board doesn't tell me.
Bob Brown. You also need to appoint a chair for reinvestment zone, because by state law, you have to do that.
For the reinvestment zone?
Yeah.
We appoint,
You have to by state law.
And that's, Brian Daniel.
Brian.
Brian Daniel.
Everybody knows that.
So we're saying Brian Daniel for the chair, and we know that he's willing.
Yes.
And we vote on-
okay.
So,
So I'm missing something. So we have, Mike is the new one. Then we have Sanjanet, Brian, Blake, John Mayo.
Keaton, Browder, Wright, Sanders, Keeler, Smith.
Yeah, I've got all
Brian
those guys.
Daniels, Tom Jeanette, Mike Pilkington, John Mayo, and Blake.
The only change is adding Mike and
Right,
making
but
Brian Daniel
there's
the
still
chair.
4 more spots. Tanya McKeska.
I just run over here.
I'm just, for my notes, I'm trying to get everybody down.
So the only change is Mike Pilkington's addition. Is that correct?
I'm working off that.
I'm working on all.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and Brian Daniel is chair.
He will be appointed chair.
Right, those are the only two changes.
So who am I missing?
Keeler, Sanders, Wright, Browder, Smith. Michelle Ticatano, Harry Adams, Tanya Reed, Raymond Smith.
Harry and Raymond.
I'm lost. What are we doing?
Just giving us some names we didn't
Okay,
have.
I'm gonna-
Yeah, I
It
was,
doesn't change what
Oh,
yeah, I was filling in the blanks.
I'll left the members off. They're not up for
oh, it's-
reappointment.
They're on that other multicolored sheet. we've got.
All right, so we're skipping over youth advisory. Moving on to ZBA.
Christy Andrews is someone who's, interviewed well.
Who?
Christy Andrews.
Her first
Engineering
choice was
background.
the airport.
Engineer.
Yeah.
Who were the alternate for construction? It's the Zoe, Mike, and Robert. He was.
Who is Robert?
Robert Bass, maybe.
Kelly Garcia, be the alternate.
No, it wasn't Robert Bass. He was, at least we didn't interview him before this. Does anybody know who the
It
Robert
was,
is?
it's Robert Bass, but we
It
didn't.
is? Oh, okay.
Maybe Christy for architect or engineer and Kelly as alternate.
Christie being the engineer, Kelly the architect.
Master.
Yes.
Yeah. Master electrician or plumber.
Master. Time to just-
Wait, what? So how many do we have to put here? 1, 4. I have Christie Andrews, Richard Hernandez, Jeremy Langley, Lee Armstrong, and then alternate architect or engineer Kelly Garcia. Am I missing anything?
Not at this moment.
Another construction and alternate construction, is that correct?
So George Klaus,
How many spots do we have?
I think we have 4.
It's six.
Something?
Oh, wait a minute, this says
Oh,
that
appointment with an incumbent. So who's on this now?
Richard Fernandez.
So we have put out the name of Christy Andrews, but she would be new. Is that correct? Okay.
Kelly Garcia.
Right.
Or Klaus, Joe Graham, Mike Pilkington, and Robert Bass.
When we interviewed George Klaus, did he come to the makeup? Jana, do you remember?
I don't have anything.
Because he didn't show up the first, well, the
Right.
first time he was supposed to, did he come for makeup? Yeah, he never showed up?
He did not.
Okay, so we never heard from him, he never showed up, so that should tell us something.
Jana, did Richard Hernandez ever respond back?
No.
So Richard, we've also not been able to reach Richard regarding his interest in continuing to serve.
Did Marty send you on this?
But he's,
I was just checking
we
that.
just put him on the
I think we put most of his folks.
He did, he sent Chuck and he sent Andrew Janzak. What about Jeremy Tarasek? What did we put him on?
So I received a,
We didn't put him on anything yet?
who?
Jeremy Tarasek.
Oh, no, we don't.
I don't
He's a
think
realtor.
he doesn't meet the requirements of this board,
No, he doesn't.
but you haven't fought it anyway.
So I got an email from Marty. This may not mean a thing, but he talked about Jonathan Perez, which I think we put Jonathan on something. Jeffrey Snyder, Tanya, Chuck, Andrew, Luke Shoemaker. With Archway. We don't have the application on them yet, right? Yeah, and then BJ Little, he mentioned Mr. Little.
We have the credential for the.
What board was it that Jeremy had was interested in and we didn't put him on?
Is what you talked about in terms of the realtor. He applied for more than that though. Let me tell you what he applied for.
USAB was one.
I'm just wondering if we can switch somebody.
He applied for P and G. Let me see what else he applied for. His first choice was DSAB. And then he also applied for Main Street, Neighborhood Revitalization, Planning and Zoning, RZ, and ZBA, but he is not qualified for ZBA.
Right.
So I've got 5 of the 9 slots slotted, and one of those being Mr. Hernandez that did confirm.
I'll only be good on there. And Mike said he would be willing to be involved again.
Y'all comfortable with that?
Oh, yeah. Maybe.
We're filling slots
I mean,
down.
that's pretty easy.
Don't be picky.
And I assume Robert Bass is someone who would be comfortable
When is his term?
if he would do it.
Put him in the lead role, not the alternate.
You know, I understand.
Depending on construction.
Oh, need to switch
Oh,
that.
2 more years.
Yeah.
Fine.
Well,
And, we just,
so what are we gonna do about Mr. Hernandez, the guy that won't return phone calls? Does he know Kathy Kruger? Are we just calling from her? Is that what's happening?
We actually don't have any contact information for him. We have an email address that goes to a Juanita Hernandez. And I've emailed it probably 3 times. It doesn't come back undeliverable, but it doesn't. They don't answer.
Who's the staff liaison for this?
It's,
Brian.
Brian Chandler. They don't meet. I mean, they haven't messed up in here, but he's currently.
So is he like with Hernandez Plumbing? I mean, is this a Google search kind of thing we can do? Hmm?
Yes, he's with Hernandez Plumbing.
Has anybody tried that?
Yes.
Still nothing.
And that's the email goes to one. If you Google Hernandez Plumbing, it's her email address.
And no telephone number.
Oh,
you know, since
No.
the trees, you can't find a.
Yeah.
Much less do something.
So can we take him, Jordan Klaus out as an alternate and move him to Mr. Hernandez's spot?
I think you may move Robert Bass to Mr. Hernandez's spot
Yeah, I think.
and put
He's under
Klaus in
construction.
as an alternate. Because Klaus didn't interview.
He never showed up or
Okay.
contacted.
Well, Bass isn't under, he's under construction, not master.
He is a master
He's an
electrician,
electrician. Bass electrician.
Yeah.
so he could fill that position
Yeah.
if that was so desired.
So let's scratch Hernandez.
We've got 8 out of 9 now.
We're gonna put in Robert Bass.
Good. He was a good interview.
And then we're gonna move Mr. Klaus to alternate construction. I mean, alternate master electrician or plumber.
Why are we putting him anywhere when he didn't let us know anything?
It's a good question. I don't know. Because it's late. Just leave it out. All right, we'll leave that one blank.
Yeah,
He's not interested.
So we need an alternate master electrician and 2 alternate constructions. Is that correct?
I think you're right.
Is that what you got?
Are you, so you talked about Zoe and Mike. Either one could fill the construction
Oh,
experience,
it's Mike. I don't have written down.
but we need to know who would be in the primary and who would be in the alternate position. And then you'll have one more alternate.
And is Mike willing to serve since we just put him on RC? Does he want to do both?
I think he'll be happy.
This was his first choice
I think we put Mike
on his application.
Well, not in his language.
Well, I understand that, but in his application.
This board is just, meets really as needed when there's some kind of appeal. So
He'll be
it's
willing.
not a very active,
Yeah.
board that has to meet monthly. So This is probably a good board to have, you know, people serving on multiple boards. It won't overwhelm them.
So let's put Mike down in the construction experience slot and put Zoe down in the alternate construction.
Usually start one alternate construction.
One alternate construction and one master electrician or plumber alternate.
We can get with Marty. and See if we can toss out. Might be interested.
Hey, we got a week. No, we got 3 days.
The other thing would be construction experience, move Andy Janzak here, if we had somebody else.
No, I'm just stretching. My legs hurt.
Okay, but you definitely
No, I
again.
think you'd be good for all.
Mhm.
You can put him in as alternate.
Yeah,
Andrew Janzak.
Yeah.
well, do we want to do both? Leave it, do the two things wherever it was we put it before, the thing he applied for?
Yeah, well, like Fred said, this doesn't mean very
Okay.
often at all.
Good. He'd be good.
So now we're just down one.
Already.
It'll be weird if Fernanda shows up to the next meeting.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be a full board.
That's true. You're the alternate. You got both.
If I can get in touch with him and he says he wants to still, Kathy just found his phone number. You want to move him down to the alternate?
You just said he wanted to?
No, I said, do you, if I call him, and he says he wants to still, do you want to move him down to the master?
Did Mr. Bass, so we already have participants of. Yeah, make him alternate. Mr. Bass showed up.
That's to make a decision whether that's being rewarded or penalized.
Sure. What
Exactly.
you get for sitting there.
Okay, we've got a poll, don't we?
I think that's it.
Might be.
Also on your agenda on Thursday will be making appointments to TEDC. So you'll make whoever you appoint as RZ chair will be appointed to TEDC rather, and then you have 2 other appointments to make, Steve Wright and Sanjanet, I think. Steve and Sanjanet, they both are eligible to serve again. So staff was assuming that's what you would do, but you do have those 2 appointments. So, and then Brian, if you appoint him as the RZ chair, will then automatically also serve on TEDC.
Yep.
And I think that's all the appointments for now.
What did we do with Bovar? He applied for.
We left him where he is.
Which is
Not
not.
TEDC.
Which is TEDC.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And it's just a recent TEDC appointment, right? So,
He's coined the term Silicon Valley. That's his. They were talking about a prospect being a data center.
Yeah.
Silicon Valley. Okay, thank you all very much. It's currently 5:50 and this special call meeting, this workshop is adjourned. Thank you all very much.